Welcome to the video for the Day 8 Domain and Ranges Real Life Applications. We're going to skip this review and do the review in class. So we'll talk about our number sets. For counting or natural numbers, those are like just how you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whole numbers are counting numbers and 0, so just add 0 to that list. And then we have our integers. Those are whole numbers and they're negatives, so now we're adding the negatives to the list. Rational, those are numbers that can be written as a fraction. It's very important. So whatever the answer is, if we can do math frac and it comes as a fraction, then it's rational. So these can be decimals, but they must repeat or terminate. Irrational, on the other hand, are the numbers that cannot be written as a fraction. So if I hit math frac, it won't put it as a fraction. It'll come back as a decimal again. These are non-repeating, non-terminating decimals. So a couple of examples are pi and the square root of 2. So if you put the square root of 2 in your calculator and you hit math frac, it'll come back as the same decimal. That's how we know it's irrational. And then we have the real numbers. This is the set of all rational and irrational numbers. So this is every single number you know. So the procedure to determine appropriate domains and ranges. We want to identify the vocab word in the problem, so whether they're talking about domain or range, and then determine what the input and output represents in the given situation. Then we can determine the type of numbers that would represent the context in the real world. So example, if we have the fair sells pumpkins based on their weight, if the price is $1.99 per pound, with the largest pumpkin weighing 10 pounds, identify the domain. Well, our domain, what is affecting it is the number of pounds. Because if I were to write out this function, we would have this. F of x, our cost, is $1.99 times x, the number of pounds. So our domain is our x's. That's the pounds of the pumpkin. So if we think about the pounds of a pumpkin, well, if it's a pumpkin, it can't actually be 0. It has to weigh something as soon as it becomes that pumpkin. So we're going to say starting at 0, but not including 0, because then we don't really have a pumpkin. So to do that, I have to use a parenthesis and then 0. And then the pounds can range anywhere from that up to, well, their highest is 10 pounds. So up to, but also including 10. So to write that, I have to do the 10 with a bracket around it. And that is our domain, 0 to 10. Our range, the cost this is talking about, well, if we don't buy a pumpkin at all, it would cost us $0. So this time I'm going to actually include 0. So I'm going to put a bracket around 0. And I'm going to go up to, well, let's see, if it's the highest is 10 pounds, if I plug 10 in place of the 1.99 in place of x, 10 times 10, what is my highest cost? That would be $19.90. So our highest cost would be $19.90. And we're going to include that as well, because that is the highest if it is 10 pounds. So those are our domains and ranges. Okay, let's try another example. So Kenny mows lawns over the summer. He charges $20 per lawn, regardless of the size. Which of the following is a realistic domain for this situation? When we're talking about domain, we're talking about, well, 20 per lawn, so the number of lawns. Well, let's look at the answers. The number of lawns, can it be start at 2? Well, what about 0 and 1? So we can't do that one. Can't be the choice 2 here. And then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, well, that seems good. Well, integers include negative numbers, so it can't be that. It can't do a negative amount of lawns. And real numbers, well, those are rational, irrational, so we can't do those either. So our correct answer is then choice number 4, which makes sense. I can mow 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. That's the number of lawns. Okay, one more. Over the summer, Mr. Shaw plants Asiatic daylilies. They grow at a constant rate of 2 centimeters per week for 1 month. He records their initial height at 3 centimeters, and then we want to determine a realistic range for this month. Well, the range, that's talking about the height that they are becoming. So the height, can it be integers? Well, those include negatives, so that can't be. The height can't be negative. And then we've got real numbers. Well, it can't be that either because those include all the numbers that we know. So if we're talking about the height, well, it has to start at 3. And if it's only for a month and the number of weeks in a month is not going to be more than 4, that means that we have to do 3 up to 11 because that's the highest. Then we'll run out of the month. So that is the correct answer, choice 4. Okay, have a good night, and we'll go over the rest in class.